We want to give you an update on this story that we have been tracking for quite some time about yet another grisly murder of this elderly couple here. There you see them. We heard from law enforcement as well today in this story. Now, this is not LA County. I'm sorry. This is San Bernardino County. The DA's office there announcing charges today against Michael Royce Sparks, a 62-year-old man accused of killing his neighbors after they vanished from their home at the Olive Dell Nudist Ranch in Redlands in late August. And so we heard from San Bernardino County District Attorney and other law enforcement officials today as they outlaid these charges here. We've also been relying on Fox 11 in Los Angeles, including their intrepid reporter, Hal Eisner. He has a summary of this story. Let's watch.
Charges that were filed today. 2 counts of murder in the deaths of Daniel and Stephanie Menard. Tammy Wilkerson has only lived here at the Nudist Ranch since May. The Menards were her friends, and the suspect, Michael Sparks, was her next-door neighbor.
I'm glad it's special circumstances because that carries the death penalty.
Sparks is accused of killing the Menards, who were reported missing just over a week ago. A tip led police to Sparks' home. And after a standoff that included tearing the house apart, Sparks was arrested and human remains were found.
We filed an allegation of special circumstances alleging multiple murders in addition to factors in aggravation.
San Bernardino County District Attorney Jason Anderson says even though the case remains under investigation, one thing is clear.
You find 2 people under the home of the suspect, that is appropriate for multiple victims in terms of special circumstance. I mean, we have a saying, and I don't say it lightly, but I want to say it clearly, is that you don't get a free murder. And in this case, that we believe that we can go forward and prove that Mr. Sparks is responsible for both. So that's why the special allegation there.
He's either going to have to plead guilty and take the death penalty, or he's going to have to plead not guilty and maybe we'll get some closure.
Tammy Wilkerson wants a trial so the community can learn why the murders took place, why the couple was buried under the house. She says there was bad blood over a tree.
Sparky had a tree that he had planted kind of close to the property line, and the tree was growing limbs. The limbs were growing over into Dan and Stephanie's. They asked him, would you please trim the tree? He never would, so they did. And that made him mad.
So as her next-door neighbor prepares for arraignment and the deaths of her friends, she yearns for closure.
We're not happy. We're sad, we're horrified, and we want to see justice done.
All right, we thank Hal Eisner there, speaking with the neighbors on that nudist ranch there in the Inland Empire as that woman there knew the suspect who is now in custody in connection to the killings of this elderly couple. Their names, Stephanie and Daniel Menard. Their remains were found on Sunday, August the 25th. We do want to let you listen into a little bit more of this press conference today from the district attorney in San Bernardino County. Let's watch.
Person tomorrow. I want to say that from the beginning of this case, what we were impressed by were the community members, the friends and loved ones who were so concerned about the Menards that came forward to indicate that things weren't right. From there, obviously, Redlands Police Department took over, did a phenomenal investigation in terms of determining the status of the Menards and then focusing in on a suspect and doing an investigation that was rather significant starting last Thursday all the way through the weekend that led up to where we're at today. I know our Victim Services Bureau has already begun to reach out to the next of kin to the Menards to let them aware of the process. In terms of what's going forward, is obviously going to be very difficult, not only on the family members, but on the community where the Menards lived. We know that obviously is a factor for those individuals. I do want to thank Chief Tolber from Redlands Police Department and their entire investigative team for the work that they did. A very unusual case. They worked very quickly under conditions that were, in my opinion, unprecedented to be able to bring some humanity to the Menards, and obviously at this stage in filing charges, pursuit of justice on our behalf. I also want to thank one of my colleagues, Supervising Deputy District Attorney Lisa Crane, who was present just over to my right, who was out there throughout the weekend being able to assist in terms of what this case was going to turn into and understanding where this case was going to go, ultimately giving us an opportunity when it came in after a holiday weekend to be able to make what, in our opinion, is the right factual and legal decisions in terms of the filing and going forward from there. So, Lisa, thank you very much. As it relates to the rest of the investigation, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Tolber to fill you in. And then if there's any questions in regards to the process of filing, I'm happy to answer those when the press conference is over. So, Chief, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Rachel Tolber. I'm the Chief of Police at Redlands, California. And I'd like to start by extending our condolences to the family and friends of the victims. We're mourning with the community over the homicides of Dan and Stephanie Menard. As you all know from the information that's already been provided, this case began a little more than a week ago when Dan and Stephanie Menard were reported missing on August 25th from their residence at Olive Dell Ranch in Ritchie Canyon. Redlands police immediately followed up on the missing persons report with an extensive search of the hills and canyon area around the ranch. During the follow-up investigation, RPD teams returned to Olive Dell Ranch on Thursday, August the 29th to conduct additional investigation and to talk to the Menards' neighbors once again. It was while our teams were on site that the police dispatchers received information from an individual identified as a family member indicating that the suspect, Michael Sparks, was involved in the disappearance and had admitted to killing 2 people and was threatening suicide. Redlands police immediately locked down the property and began the search for Sparks, narrowing the search down to his home, which happens to be next door to the Menards. Because we had information leading us to believe that Sparks was potentially armed and barricaded, we called in additional assets to ensure the safety of our officers as well as the public. Following long hours and multiple efforts to contact Sparks with no response, we obtained a search warrant and used a drone to first enter the property. That search was unsuccessful, and believing that Sparks and possibly the Menards were still on the property, we used a TAC cat to breach the property and continued to search using remote cameras for safety reasons. Eventually, search teams located Sparks in the subterranean basement. He was in fact armed with a rifle, which he attempted to fire in an effort to harm himself, and the weapon misfired, and Sparks was subsequently taken into custody. Over the next 4 days, law enforcement teams have searched the suspect's property, ultimately locating the remains of 2 people who we believe to be Dan and Stephanie Menard, along with other evidence. The search of the property was completed yesterday. I'd like to acknowledge the work of the men and the women of Redlands Police Department who did an incredible job from the initial search for Dan and Stephanie Menard to the successful completion of the investigation. I'd also like to thank our partners from other agencies who worked alongside Redlands PD, including CAL FIRE, the American Medical Response, and I'd like to thank the Redlands Fire Department who provided personnel trained in confined space operations that made it possible to enter the subterranean space and recover victims along with other evidence. I also want to thank various city crews who assisted, from the wastewater crew who used their specialized equipment to provide us with a look into the crime scene, and the city building engineer who evaluated the structure to ensure that it was safe to enter. I also want to thank our law enforcement partners from both the Riverside County Sheriff's Department and the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the California Highway Patrol, the San Bernardino County Coroner's Office, and of course, the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office. And I would also like to thank those members of the media who've assisted us in keeping the public informed throughout this investigation as it progressed. Thank you for your time.
All right, so you got more of somewhat of a TikTok of how this all went down, how he was taken into custody there, and he has been charged in connection with the killing of this elderly couple there, the Menards, on this nudist ranch in San Bernardino County. And unfortunately, their very, very small dog named Cuddles is still missing. And so this is a story we're going to stay with. We're relying on Fox 11 in Los Angeles to help us tell it for you as well.